Kia has just unveiled the new 2025 or refreshed K5, and I'm just gonna jump to the main point here that I have with this design. I don't think this is a better design than the 2021 model year, and I'm gonna let you know exactly why when we jump into Photoshop in just a minute. And unfortunately, I couldn't find a new press photo of the 2025 model in a side view, which is very annoying. So we're gonna have to deal with just comparing the front, the rear, and the interior in this case. But before we do that, let's see what's new under the hood here. Some of the technology that comes with the 2025 K5 from this article from Car and Driver, linked down below in the description. So the front and rear end of the midsize sedan are restyled with new daytime run lights. You can see those right here, very, very sharp and chiseled. It looks like a lightning beam or something like that. And you also have the interior, which hosts a larger central touchscreen, which is a trend that continues to go on pretty strongly. You have a brand new 191 horsepower naturally aspirated 2.5 liter four-cylinder, and gone is the 180 horsepower turbo. So we don't have a turbo anymore, and this will result in some loss of torque. You have 181 pound-feet of torque in the new one compared to 195 in the old one. However, the horsepower goes up, and this is connected to an 8-speed automatic transmission. You have front-wheel drive. If you want to, you can get all-wheel drive in the GT line. And thankfully, the more powerful GT returns with an unchanged powertrain. It's still powered by the 290 horsepower turbo 2.5 liter four-cylinder and still has an 8-speed automatic is a dual clutch automatic. Not bad for a Kia. Now looking at the interior here, you can see that we do have a big screen right here, and gone is the gauge cluster. This is actually an option, so I do believe you can still have the gauge cluster from what I get from this article. The wheels comes in 16-inch wheels, which on the EX on the lower trims, and you also have 19 inches for the GT with 245 millimeter wide tires, which is not bad. I would definitely go, as you know, for the GT. You have a lot more, 100 more horsepower, and you also get the 19-inch wheels. So here we go, available as an option. So this seems to be an option, this new curved glass display with a 12-inch digital gauge cluster and a new standard 12.3-inch infotainment screen. You have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all of that stuff comes with the car. Controls for the climate and audio are updated to Kia's familiar one-screen, two-function format, meaning the small screen toggles between the two functions, letting you change the AC or volume with a single dial. At least it's still a physical dial, so I do like that. The 2024 model year's price was $26,745, and we don't expect this to rise too much above that price for the 2025 model year. And with that said, let's have a look at this design from Kia, and let me tell you exactly why I think the old one is way better than the new one, because they changed a lot in this area, this lower section down here. Thankfully, we still have this beautiful chamfer in the new one, but we don't have this area. You see how smooth and beautiful this line is? It's similar, actually reminds me of the change they did with the Taycan. They removed this cut that goes from the top into the bumper. We have the same sort of change in the Kia K5. And what I don't like about the change that they made here, it feels like they took the new design graphics that we see in the new EVs of Kia. For example, these lights that has a thicker piece at the very end point. We have this in a lot of EVs. You can see that little thicker here as well. And they tried to apply that onto a design language that was before that transition into that type of design philosophy, meaning that two design ideas are clashing in this new design. You can see that we also have this EV6 style rear bump lower section in this corner, and I think this looks so much more static than this beautiful fin that we have, being way more dynamic, cutting in here, creating a cut between the top half and the lower section, and then of course going into more curvatures here. This is just one triangle that doesn't have the same flow as we had in the pre-facelift, and I think this just looks so much better. I also do prefer this heartbeat LED that we have here, the daytime run lights, to this more robotic style that we have in the 2025 model year. And it feels like this is an overall trend that we have going on right now, where we have car companies moving away from this hand-like style where you can see that someone sketched things up by hand. For example, this curvature right here, it feels like this was sketched up by hand because we have so fluid lines. And then you come into this with a 90-degree angle down here. This is not easy to sketch by hand. It feels more robotic and more stale, and I'm not sure I like this direction that we're heading in the terms of car design. It becoming more, as I've said so many times before, it becomes more in line with industrial design and product design. This intake in the middle here, same thing here, much more nice and much more dynamic than what we have in this square that we have, rectangle that we have right now in the lower section. Same goes for the rear end. It's a little bit better treatment here than what we have in the front end for sure, because we have some sort of dynamic feeling in the taillight, specifically in the housing for the taillight. But these are just absolutely massive taillights on the Kia K5. I mean, just look at all the mass and the volume that this area takes up. I would much rather have it be cut here and then have a nice curvature cutting in and have this piece be body color. I think that would look so much better than having these huge eyeballs in the rear end. And here you can see again this clash when it comes to the old design language that we have up here. Still has some sharpness in the daytime run lights, but then if you look at this area here, a super sharp corner up here, up top, and then we have this new graphics of Kia with the thicker piece of the LED being at the very end points of the LED bars or strips itself. And if we have a corner like this in combination with everything else that goes on in the body, all the smooth surfaces and lines and curvatures, this is what I'm talking about when it comes to clashing two design ideas, the old one and the new one, and putting it as a facelift in the old version of what Kia used to think when it comes to design. The lower section again becomes a lot more robotic and static. We have a nice curvature here, as you can see in the old one, with some very cool integrated tailpipes here. They look pretty nice in the new one as well, the 2025, but we still have this EV6 style being forced onto this design with these pieces. Even though I do like this new diffuser that we have in the lower section, looking very sporty, the rear end is not too bad. I do just think the front end has too many of these EVQs that clashes a lot, as I said, with the previous design language, even though I do actually like the treatment of the... I don't think they changed the hood design, and these are very nice fluid lines that we have in the front end. With, of course, I forgot to mention, Tiger nose, of course, still intact in the new 2025. Now, last but not least, let's have a look at the interior here. And as I said, I do think maybe, I'm not sure if I interpreted the article correctly, but I do think that you can still have this in the lower trims. And what I would like to do is I want to have the GT, the K5 GTs, but since that is the top of the line, I'm probably going to get this big screen instead of having it be the old gauge cluster here. But if I can have the new GT with a lower trim interior, that would be a pretty sweet Kia K5 for me. That would probably be the one I would buy, but unfortunately I don't think I can do that. But here we have the new curved display, as you can see, just sitting up top there. No integration as we're used to seeing in today's interior designs of cars, but thankfully we still have a couple of dials, and you can see the temp here, so it feels like you can press this or whatever they said in the article. You can either adjust the volume with this knob, or you can adjust the climate control settings. Here you see the driver's side temperature as well. But looking at this screen, this is still better integrated than BMW is doing, with just very sharp corner on the Beamer, and here at least the designers were able to put a couple of radiuses here on their lunch break just to make it a little bit more interesting than just having a square TV up on the dash.